Hey y'all, welcome to my first What's for Dinner of 2024. I love a good reset. I always love a new year. It always sparks a lot of motivation for me in the kitchen, and I'm really looking forward to another year of sharing delicious recipes with you guys. I'm going to let y'all in on a week of what I made my family for dinner. This week I tried out 4 new recipes, and I also threw in a tried and true, just absolute family favorite. This was a really good lineup of meals, really proud of it, and I hope that it can help y'all with meal planning. So let's go ahead and jump on into it. First up, I made some creamy taco soup. I cannot tell y'all the last time that I made taco soup. This recipe is different from all the other ones that I have tried in the past, and it is by far my favorite. It is absolutely incredible. So to my Dutch oven, I started off by browning up a pound of ground beef that I seasoned with salt, pepper, onion, and garlic powder. If you have a lot of excess grease, you'll definitely want to drain it. Next, I'm going to be adding in 4 cups of chicken broth. That is what the recipe called for, but if you want to use beef broth instead, go for it. It'll be great either way. You'll also need 2 cans of Rotel. I always like to buy the mild version for my family. Anything above that is too spicy for my kids and my husband. It also calls for a can of black beans. I'm using northern beans because I needed to use those up first. I drained and rinsed those, and I'm also going to be adding in a can of corn that I drained off. I already pre-measured my seasonings out, so in this little bowl I have a half a tablespoon of chili powder and then a teaspoon each of some onion and garlic powder, cumin, and smoked paprika. I have really found a love for smoked paprika lately. I feel like it really transforms a dish, and it really stood out in this one, and oh, we just loved it. I also added in half of a red bell pepper that I chopped up, and then I waited for it to come up to a boil. And once it reaches that point, I'm going to go ahead and turn the heat down, and I'm just going to let that simmer away anywhere from like 15 to 20 minutes. Next, I'm going to grab a softened block of Philadelphia cream cheese. I did cube it up, and I'm going to put the whole block on into the pot, and I'm going to stir it around until it melts. I know a lot of people like to make fun of those that uses cream cheese in their recipes all the time, but I am proud to be one of those that is always using cream cheese because we just love it, and I swear it's what made this taco soup so good. The cream cheese and the smoked paprika is what made it. Lastly, I just hit it with some salt and pepper to taste, and that was it. This comes together really quick, making it perfect for those busy nights. I know that we're all busy people in our own ways, so if you're looking for something to put on the table quick that's going to be a crowd pleaser, this is the recipe. So I took some of these blue corn tortilla chips and crushed them up, threw it on in our bowls. I tend to buy those when I'm trying to be a tad bit healthier. I don't even know if they're that much healthier, but regardless, we really like them. I also added some shredded cheese and some sour cream to our bowls, and you just stir it all together, and it is so flavorful and warm and cozy. It's perfect, and my son kept going back for more and more, and he's my pickiest eater, so that's really saying something. Next up, I'm going to be making some chicken scampi. So earlier in the day, I took 2 boneless, skinless chicken breasts, and I just diced those up into small pieces. And where I live, chicken breasts can be like on the big side. So I did take my food scale and I weighed out 1 pound of the chicken. So that is what is in this bowl. I don't like when there's like too much chicken in a recipe. Like I like the proportions to be right. So I weighed it out. I did take a paper towel and I dried off my chicken, and I'm just going in and seasoning that to taste with some salt and pepper. I threw in a teaspoon of Italian seasoning, and I'm just doing some Mrs. Dash lemon pepper seasoning. Here I'm throwing in 3 tablespoons of just some plain all-purpose flour, and then I'm going to take a spoon and I'm going to mix that together really good. I want to make sure that all of that flour and all of those seasonings get evenly distributed on every inch and every piece of that chicken. Over there to the left, I do have my big skillet heating up on about a medium-high heat. I'm adding in 2 tablespoons of olive oil and 2 tablespoons of some salted butter. Once that was nice and hot and everything is melted, I'm going to go ahead and throw on in my chicken. With my spatula, I'm just trying to get it all kind of broken apart, but I'm basically just going to cook this until that chicken is fully cooked through, until it starts getting some nice color to it. It should start to turn kind of golden brown. I did notice that flour really helps to brown the chicken a lot better versus like not adding the flour. I also really like the texture of the chicken with that flour. So now that my chicken is fully cooked through, I'm just going to start removing it to a separate bowl. I know a lot of people are afraid of like undercooking chicken. So if that is you, I recommend a food thermometer. Just stick it in there, and if it reads at least 165, you are good. But I'm going to set that to the side. I'm going to tint it with some foil to keep it warm. And then to that same skillet, I'm going to throw in a tablespoon of salted butter. And once that is melted down, I'm going to throw in some fresh garlic. This is about 5 cloves of garlic that I just did a quick rough chop on. And I'm just going to saute that in the butter. You want to let it cook for at least a minute. I actually accidentally cooked mine for a little bit longer. I got distracted cleaning up a little mess. So I almost burnt my garlic, but it didn't burn. We'll just say it kind of caramelized it. But once I noticed that, I quickly added in a half a cup of chicken broth. The recipe actually calls for white wine, but I didn't have any, and it's not something that I'm going to rush to the store to grab because I just don't use it enough and it goes bad quickly. I've tried to freeze it. It didn't work for me. But anyways, at that point, I'm going to boil a half a box of some angel hair pasta, about 8 ounces of it. That's what that pot over there to the left is. I'm boiling some angel hair pasta in salted water. I threw in 4 tablespoons of the salted butter into my skillet. Once it melted, I threw in my cooked chicken, and I'm adding a little bit of some crushed red pepper flakes and a good amount of some dried parsley. You can definitely use fresh parsley if you prefer. We don't, it's not something that we love. Like, it's okay, but we don't love the taste, so I think I'm just going to stick with the dried parsley. But I tossed that all to coat, and then I'm going to throw in a final tablespoon of butter. I'm not really sure why it's broken up like that, but next, I'm going to grab half of a lemon. You need about 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. I'm pouring it in this little Tupperware container. And to that, I'm going to add a half a cup of the pasta water from that pot of angel hair pasta boiling. And I also threw in a cup of some Parmesan cheese that I shredded myself. And I'm going to add a lid and shake that really good. I'm going to drain off my angel hair pasta, throw it in my skillet, and then goes the Parmesan lemon pasta water mixture. I'm not really sure why you are supposed to do it separate. In my head, you could just do it all straight on into the skillet. Sometimes I just have other things going on in my head, and I tend to follow recipes a little bit too closely, even though I kind of know better. I'm sure I'm not alone in that, but if there is a good reason for doing that sauce separate, let me know. Maybe I'm missing something. But lastly, I just hit it with some salt and pepper to taste, and that was it. I love a good chicken pasta dish, so I was really looking forward to this one. And it stated in the recipe that it's optional, but you can garnish this when it's done with some fresh chopped tomatoes. I knew that my family wouldn't care for that, so I only did it to my plate. I don't always care for fresh tomatoes if it's not summertime, but I did actually really like it with this dish. I also added some extra Parmesan cheese and parsley to the top to make it look nice. And I have a couple lemon wedges over there to the side to squeeze over everything. I love a lot of citrus in my meals, but this dish was such a hit. It had such great flavor. That chicken was incredible, and the sauce felt lighter to me. I know it has a lot of butter, but it's probably where it didn't call for heavy cream. Really enjoyed it, and I just love angel hair pasta compared to like thicker pastas. This is definitely a new family favorite. Next, I'm going to be making one of our very favorite dinners, and that is Cuban sandwiches. It has been a while since I've made it, but if you have been a longtime subscriber, you have seen me make this before, and I'm going to show y'all how I make the pork in the crock pot. It is honestly probably my #1 favorite crock pot recipe. It is too good. So I started with a 4-pound pork butt. I put that in my crock pot, and I just took a knife and put some slits in the top so that this marinade that I'm making now can kind of seep all throughout it. So I finally bought myself one of these little juicers, I guess is what you call it. I picked it up at Walmart. I've always wanted something to like squeeze oranges, and I believe I got it for a little less than $10, and I'm glad that I finally have one. But I am going to be using the juice of 2 oranges and 2 limes. So this might be driving y'all crazy the way that I'm doing it. I was just trying to figure it out for the first time, but I'm assuming you pretty much just kind of twist it around until all of the juice is out. But I'm telling y'all, in combination with that being a good cut of pork that's already tender, all of this like citrus from the oranges and the limes, I swear it not only does it make this pork taste so good, it tenderizes it in the most amazing way. This pork is literally melt in your mouth. So after I got all of that juice out, I'm also going to add in some fresh garlic. This is about 4 cloves that I chopped up. And I'm going to be adding in 2 teaspoons of cumin, as well as 2 teaspoons of some dried oregano. I'm doing a little bit of some crushed red pepper flakes, a teaspoon of black pepper, and about 3/4 of a tablespoon of some kosher salt, and 2 tablespoons of olive oil. With my fork, I'm just going to mix this together really good, and I'm also going to add in 2 bay leaves. Now, I'm going to pour this super good marinade all over my pork. I'm going to add a lid on, and I'm going to cook mine on low. I ended up cooking mine for about 7 hours. This was a weekend. It was Saturday, so I was home all day, so I could kind of go in and check it when I wanted to. But as you can see, I'm taking my fork, and I'm just barely scraping it, and it is just flaking off with such ease. So I do like to take it out of that liquid and kind of shred it in a separate bowl. That way it's not sitting in all of that liquid, since I am using it for sandwiches. But you can definitely reserve that liquid and you can dip your sandwiches in it because it is so flavorful and good. But there's so many uses that you can use that pork for. But again, I want some Cuban sandwiches. So I just picked up a big loaf of French bread from the Walmart bakery. I did do the like Italian seasoned one this time, and I did cut it in half. And as you can see, I did a terrible job. There's a big hole in it. I feel like that bread is a description on how life is lately. But anyways, I'm taking a thick layer of Duke's mayo, and I'm adding that onto one section of the bread. And then I'm taking some mustard and adding that to both sections. So I do use like half of that loaf of bread. This one that I'm making right now is for Josh and I cut it in half between the both of us. So this is how we like it. I did 2 slices of Swiss cheese on the bottom, and then I'm just taking some thinly sliced honey ham and layering that over the bottom. I ended up doing 2 rows of the ham. You don't really have to, but I guess I just wanted it to be a thick, hearty sandwich. So after I get all of my ham lined up, now I can start adding the best part, that super delicious shredded pork. I'm going to do a good amount of that. And these Claussen sandwich style pickles, I swear these specific ones really makes this sandwich so good. Highly, highly recommend it. I'm adding 3 of those over the top, and then I'm going to seal the deal with 2 more slices of Swiss cheese. Now, to a large skillet that I have heating up, I'm going to add some of this garlic Parmesan basil butter. I buy that at Kroger, and I really love it. Really elevates dishes, and I'm going to start toasting up my sandwich in it. If you have a panini press, this is what you'd want to pull it out for. I used to have one, but I got rid of it because I couldn't get it clean for whatever reason. So I just used my burger press. It worked just fine. I honestly could have cooked these for a little bit longer. As you can see, the cheese is not like fully melted, but it was just one of those nights. I was kind of in a rush, but they still turned out really, really good. I still stand with what I say every time I make these. These are hands down just one of my favorite things that I have ever made in my kitchen. And to go along with it, I just air fried some French fries. Let's fast forward to the next day. I have all of that leftover shredded pork from the Cuban sandwiches left over, and it is too good to not make a whole nother meal out of it. So this isn't really a recipe. This is just what I threw together and what sounded good in my head. I'm going to use it to make burrito bowls. So I wanted to make some homemade cilantro lime rice in the Instant Pot, but my store didn't have cilantro. So I cooked up that packet. I had that in my pantry. And I knew I wanted to do some beans. It was between refried beans or chili beans. I decided to go with the chili beans, and I really liked it in this dish. So now I'm just going to start assembling it. I'm going to add in a good amount of that rice, which was super good, by the way. I'm definitely going to rebuy that. I heated up that pork in the microwave and added a good portion of it. I'm doing a couple big spoonfuls of the beans. I did shred up some sharp cheddar cheese. I'm going to add a good dollop of sour cream and some homemade guacamole. That's one of my favorite things. I'm also adding a couple lime wedges to squeeze over everything. And I took this Kinder Chipotle lime sauce and just drizzled that all over the top. I also chopped up some fresh lettuce, but it was sitting in my sink in the salad spinner, so I kind of forgot about it until I got done filming this clip. So let's just use our imagination and pretend there's some lettuce all over the top. But basically, I just mixed it all together and scooped it up with tortilla chips, and it was amazing. Lastly, I'm going to be making some chicken smash tacos. I'm sure a lot of y'all saw the trend from last year with the ground beef smash tacos. I know I made them myself, and they were such a huge hit. So I actually saw this chicken version on TikTok. I have only seen it from one person. That's the first I've seen or heard about it. I will definitely have the original video linked in my description box for y'all to go watch, but really caught my eye. I thought that it sounded so good. So I have a pound of ground chicken in my bowl, about a packet's worth of some ranch seasoning, and I did about a cup of some shredded sharp cheddar cheese. So I am using my food scale to kind of portion these out. I originally wanted to do 2-ounce portions. That's what I did with the original like beef ones, but that cheese really bulked it up, so I kind of had to go back around and do about 2.5 ounces. You don't have to use the food scale. You could definitely eyeball it. I just knew that I wanted 8 of them. So this is definitely ideal for a Blackstone. That's what I want it to do, but it is just so cold outside, and the weather in Kentucky has been so crazy lately. Like, the wind is awful. It wasn't a possibility, so I'm just using my little indoor griddle. I was hoping to fit at least 3 of these on there at a time, but I could only do 2. So I just made it work. It did go by pretty quickly. I am using my Tortilla Land tortillas. Those are the ones that come uncooked. So ideally you want to use like a smaller tortilla for this so that the meat touches like all surface of the tortilla. But I really just wanted to use up what I had on hand. But if you choose to make these, I definitely recommend the smaller tortillas. So anyways, I just kind of pre-cooked my tortillas for a few seconds on each side, and then I placed down the chicken burger and placed that tortilla over the top, and I'm using my handy dandy little burger press, and I'm just going to flatten these out until they are just completely flat, really thin. And since they are so thin, they're going to cook up within a matter of just a couple of minutes. That grease from the cheese kind of made the tortillas look a little wet. I know they don't look the most like appetizing, but again, if you use the smaller tortillas, that won't be a problem. So we just garnished it with some shredded lettuce and then drizzled on a good amount of ranch. And we didn't really see the need for any sides. Like, these were enough. And let me tell y'all, these were seriously so delicious. I highly recommend this recipe. I cannot wait to make these again on my Blackstone in the summer. I'm thinking of maybe adding like a little bit of buffalo sauce to the mixture as well. But that is all I got for y'all today. I really hope that y'all enjoy the recipes that I shared. And as always, I want to thank y'all so much for watching. I hope you all have a great and safe weekend, and I will see y'all in my next video.